Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe. If you dare.
2 days later I finished the book and it turned me into a reading junkie ever since then. I think I have read over 1,000 books. Hey everybody, welcome to ANECDOSED. People ask Reddit. What seemingly innocent choice has had the greatest impact on your life?
Number 1.
I was on a pretty long bike ride with my friend, and we were in a rural area. I stopped to take a picture of some cows, and as I finish, a car comes speeding round the corner about 10 meters away. The car loses control, drives over the path and flips into a field. If I didn't stop to take a picture of those cows I could be dead right now, or at least incredibly injured.
Number 2.
A friend told me she had a breast lump but wasn't going to bother getting it checked. I'd seen all the ads about getting these things checked, so told her she should go, kind of flippantly offered to go with her. She said okay. Figured I may as well get checked while I'm here. Doc found a lump, ended up being diagnosed with stage 2 cancer. After they got it, I was told if I'd waited a few more months to be checked I'd likely have a much worse diagnosis. All healthy now, I figure my friend inadvertently saved my life.
Number 3.
Commenter. Sophomore year of high school, there was this dude in like 2 of my courses who never spoke. Being the chatty guy I am, I blabbed on and on to people around me, and to him, but he rarely if ever responded. In fact, he responded so little that I decided I'd stop wasting my time speaking to him. Especially since I was just talking about experiences in my life, and I got silence or 2 words in return. But I just kept talking, because I can't shut up for the life of me. And also because some voice in my head told me to keep talking, that this guy was different. Anyway, I end up in some classes with him next year, and now he says hello and stuff. Little bit more talkative, which is cool. End up in a physics class with him, which turns into me doing a physics project with him and 2 others, which turns into me opening up about the hardships of my life. There we are a lot, and still are, which got a wow out of him. And he told me about a bit of his life's difficulties. And it was a nice day. He's my best friend now, and it has been for years now. He's helped through so many down times, has been there for me when no one else has, and is still deeply involved in my life. We managed to help each other out of our lowest lows in high school, and still keep in crazy close contact. He's pretty much the only person who can make me smile on a shitty day, even if he's not around. I love that kid to death, and would go to the ends of the earth for him. And get this, all those stories I told him when he didn't respond? He remembers them. In detail. Even stories I don't remember telling. I can't imagine how poorly I'd be doing if I hadn't continued to speak to the silent kid. Person B. Same here, one of my closest friends is shy, and the only way he made friends was meeting them through me. He's extremely intelligent and dedicated. One of the better choices in my life was being nice, and it caused me to just talk to everyone. Person C. This reminds me of how my best friend and I met. We were in Job Corps, a federal program for training troubled youths in vocational skills, and he was this nerdy guy with super long hair. A lot of people stayed away from him and thought he was a freak, but since those guys were all assholes anyway, I tried to talk to him. I'm effing glad I did. We talk just about every day and can get locked into those hour-long conversations with no provocation whatsoever. I'm happy he's in my life.
Number 4.
Commenter. This may sound a little underwhelming, but it effing changed my life tremendously. When I was 20, I hated reading. Consequently, I struggled with English classes and flunked out of college. I could not write worth the damn. During that summer, I also got a DUI, so I was not in a good place in my life. While visiting a friend of mine, I was playing a lot of StarCraft at his apartment. He was at work, had an internship with Intel, and I eventually got bored. Out on the coffee table was a book. In my boredom, I dared myself to read the first 10 pages. The book was A Game of Thrones, by George R.R. Martin. 2 days later I finished the book and it turned me into a reading junkie ever since then. I think I have read over 1,000 books. My writing skills improved considerably and I eventually went back to college to finish my degree. I am currently in an MBA program and will be flying to Budapest and Prague for an international business trip this summer. This shit would have never happened if I had not picked up that book. Person B. Dude, I've had a very similar experience. I'm on a Dance with Dragons right now, and never in my life have I read a 1,000+ page book, let alone breeze through 5 of them. I actually have to pace myself now. So amazing. My writing and expression has also greatly improved. Person C. Fantastic story. When I was younger, I read a small amount, enjoyed it a lot. Horrible history books, then Harry Potter, etc., but after that I stopped. A guy who ran a forum I once frequented told me to buy Eye of the World, first book in the Wheel of Time series, and I did. For 12 months I did nothing with it. Then I was in hospital due to appendicitis and for some reason asked for that book to read whilst recovering. Since then I've read loads and got mates into reading. Not just fantasy but history, politics, general classics. Those books have shaped the way I think, my views politically and socially, and whilst some of those changes have been minor, a few of them have been pretty significant. I know I will always read from now on, and though my love of reading stems back further than Wheel of Time, it was that book that started this change. You reading may have had a far greater impact on your life, but I thought I'd add my own story to highlight how important picking up a book can be. Person D. Cool. Same thing happened to me in my final year of high school. I was struggling with all my subjects, including English class. I had lost motivation, maybe due to experimenting with weed, and just being unhealthy in general. I wanted to go to uni, but wasn't sure I'd be able to make it. So I was just in general unsure of my future and stuff. One day after school I was just dicking around at the public library. I randomly pulled out Odd Thomas by Dean Koontz. I read the first sentence and was intrigued. I kept reading, and finished the first page. I really liked it, so I sat down to keep reading. Pretty soon I found I finished the first chapter, and I was hooked. I loved the book, and went and read pretty much every book Koontz wrote. It changed everything for me. I started reading so many books, and my performance in English class skyrocketed. In turn, my other classes improved a bit, and it boosted my motivation for learning. I then decided to go to uni after all. 6 years later, here I am working as a graduate engineer.
Number 5.
August of 2011, rolled out of bed on a dreary Saturday morning and made my way downstairs. I passed my dad, fast asleep on the couch, per usual, and made some breakfast before heading up to the shower. After the shower I hastily got dressed for work and headed for the door, already running late. I paused on the porch and thought to myself, I'll grab one of Dad's smokes for the drive, even though I had my own pack waiting in the car. Something compelled me to turn back. I approached him quietly and snatched a cigarette out of his pack on the end table. "Dad, I have to leave for work now. I love you," I muttered with the cigarette dangling between my lips. My father, laying there with his eyes closed and his hand tucked underneath his head, didn't respond. I stood there for a few seconds, observing him, how still he was. "Dad, wake up." I reached out and touched his shoulder cold. I remember shaking him and telling him to wake up, louder each time, tugging at his shoulder more violently. "Dad, Jesus Christ, wake up." It was a few minutes before the paramedics arrived, and a few more before a young man in his late 20s rested a hand on my shoulder and told me, "Your father has passed on." He had gone in his sleep, sometime in the middle of the night, when his heart had unexpectedly failed him. I remember collapsing to my knees next to my father's body and telling him how sorry I was, I don't know for what. Maybe for being such a wise ass all the time, for being an ungrateful little son of a bitch, for being a typical 19-year-old boy. I just remember this searing guilt and regret bubbling in my stomach, knowing that I could never make it right. I managed to compose myself and phoned my older siblings to deliver the news. They all set out for the house immediately. The paramedic, now one of a dozen emergency responders hovering around my living room, asked if there was anyone else in the house. My little brother is still asleep upstairs. I trudged up the staircase, eventually coming to rest at the edge of my younger brother's bed. He looked up at me with sleepy eyes and asked what's wrong. I told him not to worry and get some more sleep, that we'd talk about it when he woke up. If I hadn't turned back that morning, it wouldn't have been me tugging at the old man's shoulder, asking him to wake up. My 10-year-old brother would have woken up and found his daddy, his favorite person in the whole goddamn world, dead. He's a quiet, fragile little boy, a real effing sweetheart without a bad bone in his body. Christ, can you imagine? I don't know that I'll ever do anything harder in my life than holding him in my lap and listening to our eldest brother tell him that Dad had to leave for heaven this morning. He loved you so much. But I do know that the impulse to turn back that morning spared my baby brother from a lifetime of shouldering an unbearable, metric shit ton of a god-awful memory.
Number 6.
In 2004 I was walking through a music festival to see a friend's band, heard drums and thought, WTF, lot of drums? Drifted over to check it out. To get the full picture you need to know I was not a drummer at all, just a kind of nerdy middle-aged woman. It was a Brazilian samba band. Coolest ever thing. I chatted to one of them after they invited me to rehearsal, Next Tuesday I joined up, a month later I'm in a parade, and a year later I'm addicted to drumming. Year after that I quit my job and moved to Brazil, ended up playing in a bunch of the top carnival groups there, went to the diciest favelas you can imagine, studied my ass off. Finally parade in a top group in the Sambodrome on snare drum, not bad for a 40-year white American chick, learn to speak Portuguese, also go to Europe just to play music there, buy an apartment in Brazil. I ended up teaching percussion professionally, also learned to be a sexy ass dancer at last, also learned to surf, etc. 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 Biggest change in my entire life. Just cause I heard drums one day and veered over to check it out.
Number 7.
A few years back, I ummed and ahed about auditioning for a small show a few towns north. I was already busy as hell, and didn't know if I wanted the extra hassle, but I loved the show, Little Shop of Horrors. Seriously, I came this close to not bothering, but in the end, I said F it and went. I auditioned, did my best, went through what felt like a million rounds of auditions, to eventually get the lead. After lots of rehearsals while working at the same time, I was loving every moment of being involved with the show and an incredibly talented bunch of actors. I was effectively working during the day to be able to go rehearse afterwards. Well, along comes opening night, and I book off the whole run as holiday time and, for that short period of time, lived as an actor. Basically, I was on stage for the evening, went out to the pub with my fellow performers in the evening, went home, woke up late, did whatever the F I wanted until I needed to be at the theater to brush up, warm up and get ready. Repeat this cycle for the whole run, it was absolute bliss. When the show ended, I got into work on the Monday and realized that now I had no show, I was merely working for nothing. I decided to quit work, and go back into education to learn the trade. I'm currently in the audition phase for some of the top drama schools in London. No regrets. If I decided I couldn't be bothered to audition for that show, I would probably have never realized how much I want to be an actor. Greatest decision I've ever made. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.